Hello, cousin, and welcome to our very first recording of Wisdom in the Weave. This is an educational and empowerment offering for neurodivergent witches in the form of an open public Q&A and conversation with the Unbound witches of bright and dark for all things strange and unusual. The Unbound are experts in assisting neurodivergent magical practitioners in repairing their relationship with their life and their magical practice. Their passion and calling is in empowering those who have been marginalized by the influence of capitalism and the patriarchy. They collectively support an international coven of neurospicy witches on both virtual and physical platforms now as a matriarchy. Wisdom in the Weave is unscripted and recording during a public live stream. To receive notifications for our live recordings or to participate in the conversation, go to our community app space at community.brightanddark.org. We have been gearing up for this moment for years and years, guys. We've been so busy working collectively in creating, again, an international resource center for neurodivergent witches and all of the programs and all. We could spend a whole hour sitting here explaining all of the things that these 8 witches do to, again, support our international community of witches. And we just now have gotten to the point that we can direct our focus in finding more witches and connecting on these live public platforms. So, my name is Jen Marie. I'm an initiated high priestess and sorceress of chaos. I founded the International Resource Center for Neurodivergent Witches, and I wrote the Grimoire of the Ungovernable. And. There are 8 of us here today. And so what we're going to do is just kind of introduce ourselves. A lot of us have been working behind the scenes and you don't necessarily see us so much. But yeah, I think I'm going to, this is going to be so awkward because again, this is our first go, but I'm going to pass this off to Ocean. Ocean is actually going to be facilitating Wisdom in the Weave for us. So they are our point person to kind of keep the flow going. And again, this is a casual and conversational podcast. So fun to say, by the way. So hi, Ocean. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm Ocean. I'm our human rewilding coordinator, and I specialize in de-domesticating witches. And I'm super excited to be here today and to help moderate. But to be honest, all these witches are all up in the chat. So we will all be responding to your comments. And I'm just really excited to be here today. Over to our NAP specialist, Maria.
Ooh, I love that I'm the nap specialist. Hello, everyone. I'm Maria. I started 26 years ago on this path when my aunt and my fairy godmother gave me my first tarot deck. And that led me here to Bright and Dark, where I facilitate a lot of the operations, but also have been deeply engaging with the Foundations program over the last 6 months and helping to facilitate that along with these witches. And I'm really excited to be here. And over to Silver.
Hello, I'm Silver, and I'm the magical radical abolitionist. And I specialize in community relations, conflict resolution, and love talking about shadow work through the lens of play. And usually that happens through archetypes, theater, creativity, that kind of thing. And I came to Bright and Dark about almost 5 years ago now, and have been just really loving being in the community. And I guess that's all I had to say. I'm going to pass it off to Morgana.
Hello, I am Morgana. I am the legal witch sometimes in the background, and sometimes I'm a dancing witch. And I am the co-steward with Jen Marie of Weirdbrook, which is our first physical location for rest and rehabilitation for neurodivergent magical practitioners. So I am so excited to be here. I started my witchcraft journey when I was born. So my dad was a witch and raised me kind of in that bubble. And I came to Bright and Dark, I think in the end of 2022, and I am the newest member of the support team. And so happy to help build this world with everybody. So I'm going to send it over to Arrow.
Hello, I'm Arrow. I am the event planner and professional chaos coordinator at Bright and Dark. I specialize in blending ritual, movement, humor, and just the right amount of chaos, because you have to have just the right amount in there that help people reconnect with their power, their people, and their magic. So basically, I enjoy making spaces where you can show up fully yourself and do some weird magical shit together. All right, I'm going to pass this off to Kimberly.
Thanks, Arrow. I'm Kimberly. I'm the witch behind the shop. I'm also a kitchen witch and a hearth witch at heart, creating magic that's grounding, nourishing, and meant to be lived in. And anyone that's ever been in my home or stepped across my threshold knows the kind of love that I put into making people feel welcome, held, and cared for. And if you've ever connected with the shop or bought anything from the shop, you've already touched a piece of my magic. Everything I do and make is filled with intention, purpose, and possibly a little bit of glitter along the way. I'm going to pass it on to Sarsaparilla.
Hello, I am Sarsaparilla. I also am one of the witches behind the scenes. I work as our media mancer. I create, edit, and schedule content so that we can find all of the others. I am a practical witch. I love to really work on embodying my practice and helping others to do the same thing. And accessibility to magic for whatever your needs might be is also very important to me. And I'm really excited. And I think that I am the last one, so I'm going to pass it back to Jen Marie. Or Ocean. I'm not sure who's stepping in at this point. Ocean.
I got your back. No worries. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. So our first question today is, what is shadow work from the perspective of a witch born of shadow? And Silver, did you want to start us out with that?
Yeah, that would be great. So I think that I'm going to start out with a story that is it's a very short little, almost like a proverb from Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And it goes, there's somebody kneeling in the street beneath a streetlight, and a passerby sees them and says, "What are you doing?" And the person kneeling says, "Oh, I'm looking for my keys." The passerby says, "Oh, you dropped them over here?" And the person kneeling says, "No, I dropped them in the alley, but the lighting's so much better over here." And to me, I just remember laughing for a while when I first read this, because I was very early on in my shadow work journey, and I hadn't really understood how to articulate it. And I think this really shows that a lot of times we look for, we try to find what we're looking for where there's good lighting and not where we know it is, because the answer's in the alley, in the darkness, the shadows. And so to me, shadow work is a practice of bringing your attention to what you've been avoiding. And in that way, which is born of shadow, I think that specifically from our perspective, we have been put in the shadows. We are queer, we are women, we are witches, we are disabled people and neurodivergent people. And so specifically, I think it's important to realize that by us doing shadow work, we are bringing ourselves into the light and bringing attention to us. And in that way, We're no longer avoiding ourselves or letting the world avoid us. So I will pass it to Maria.
Thank you, Silver. I've been thinking about this, and my answer has changed a few times, but as usual, I was in the shower and getting a lot of information, as one does when they're in the shower. But I do tend to do a lot of processing there. And so I was thinking about how we have engaged with the witches, hundreds of witches that have come across Bright and Dark within our foundations program, or now in our app at community.brightanddark.org. And I was thinking about the first time I met Jen Marie, as someone that's gotten a lot of different readings over their lifetime. When Jen Marie popped up on my TikTok, I immediately had that intuitive, immediate connection, but I wanted to vet her before I signed up. And so I made a one-to-one private session. And immediately, again, when her face popped up on my computer screen, I did feel that connection. But I think what has kept our connection is our practice in shadow work. And same thing with all of the witches here. But Jen Marie was the first one to introduce me to shadow work in the way that we do it at Bright and Dark. And of course, each witch takes the information and does what they want with it, and, you know, engages with it in their own way, connected to their magical practice. But it gave me a little bit of form and flow to navigating shadow work, you know, starting with journal prompts and taking it from there. Now we have so many ways that we engage with the witches, just holding space for their shadow work. I learned through shadow work, and what it means to me is it's not a place where we come and tell each other what to do, or tell someone how to do something, tell someone how to navigate their experience. It's holding space for other people and being a witness while they're engaging with their social conditioning, with those maybe shadow parts, whatever that means to you, with some trauma. But for me, it was deeply looking at the social conditioning. I had gone to therapy, and so started to process some of, you know, my childhood trauma and different things that have happened in my adult life. And I got a lot of great coping skills, and that was really important. But what shadow work did was helped with the processing and really helped with the perspective shifting that has transformed my life in such a magical and impactful way. I'll never be able to fully put that into words. And it's really helped me deeply connect to my magical practice. And as maybe about 6 months into the foundations program, and shout out to the witches here that are in the foundations program. Shout out and thank you for being here, because we have our fall class that started. So they're at their 6 months, and things do start to shift and connect at that point, where you can really see how peeling back the layers of that social conditioning, weaving that web, making all those connections deeply connects to how you practice magic. And I deeply feel that magic starts with you. I see a lot on Witch Talk about the external part of magic, you know, doing spells and that outward progression, but the magic is you. And so the shadow work really helped connect to my authenticity, that opened up so much more within my magical practice. So I think shadow work is a great start to connect to who you are really, and then to deeply engage with your magical practice. I feel like I'm saying deeply a lot, so I'll come up with some more vocabulary words, but that is true. So I think that's enough for me. Thanks, everyone.
I love the word deeply so much. It always vibes with me. Um, Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of us in the comments even have booked a one-to-one session to suss out Jen Marie before joining the community, which is just so funny because as our self-described mascot, you do often end up being the first witch that people meet. I love that
Yeah.
for you.
You love that for me?
I do.
I love that for all
That
of you
too.
guys
Yeah.
because can I like riff off of that a little bit of the shadow work thing? So I have the definition of shadow work has gotten very diluted over the years because it's been used so much. And I think that it's important because like what we do together collectively, what the Unbound does is deeply rooted in shadow work, both the Jungian kind as well as the twist that we kind of put on it, specifically the twist of the lived experience of a neurodivergent black sheep cycle breaking queerdo. And the work that we do, all of the programs that we have are, again, specially curated for that lived experience. And the question of why shadow work, why is this so important? Why would 8 people get together and put years and years and years of work into creating something that shadow work is so pivotal? And the best way that I have kind of one of the best ways, one of the most relatable ways that I can explain why shadow work for witches. Like the very first thing is when you're looking at, you want to manifest, what is it? You want to manifest abundance, right? You want to do a spell for abundance. If you don't do shadow work first, if you don't do the work of asking yourself, what is abundance? For me, what was I taught that abundance was supposed to be? What was I taught it was supposed to look like that? Do I actually, if you don't ask yourself those questions, most of us, if I was like, um, your like everyday opinion of money, how often do you say, I hate money? I hate money. Man, I hate this. I wish I didn't have to like engage in this. We have so much resistance to what we have been taught that abundance is, right? Most of us, without that deconstruction, without that shadow work, directly equate abundance to money. And if we don't do shadow work about our relationship with money, then it's what you end up doing is you're pushing away the very thing that you think that you're wanting to call in. And so you're not actually able to call it in. It doesn't show up for you because deep down inside, you actually don't want to have anything to do with it. And so that is a really good example of just one of the things. Truthfully, just about every facet of your relationship with your life has been influenced by a system that has no place for us. And that's really important for us to see and for us to recognize and to work through and to heal from because yeah, that's the whole thing. But I wanted to kind of riff off of that. There's a reason why we're like, hey, you might want to look in your closets a little bit before you come, playing these games with us, right? So yeah, I'm gonna pass it back off to you, Ocean.
Right. I would actually like to riff off of that too, personally, because I find that shadow work is something that we hear quite a lot on social media and whatnot. And I think that there's a lot of information on witchcraft readily available. I really like what Jen Marie says that everybody has access to the same information. Um, but the lens that we view it through that I feel like sets bright and dark apart is that you have to embody something for it to be real. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, when I first started in witchcraft, because I actually came to this community for the shadow work. I was like, I just need to dig deeper and, you know, I felt like I was really good at therapy. I was like, okay, so this is like just next level therapy. Got it. And so the witchcraft was new to me. And so when I first started, I would put things together and then I would set it and forget it, like, you know, like a, what do they call it? Like an instant pot, you know? And what I found was that actually the more attention that I brought to what I was doing, the more that I embodied the concepts that I was talking about and actually put them into action and tested them. Witchcraft became more like a science to me than a like real life RPG. You know, it felt more real. It felt more connected to reality and the way that things actually interact with each other. And that helped ground my magic, as well as my helped ground my shadow work. And it also brought my shadow work to my connections, right? Shadow work wasn't just this thing that was about my witchcraft practice. It was something that rippled outward into everyone that I interacted with, all the spaces that I interacted with. My familiar, my relationship with my familiar was a really big embodiment practice of my shadow work. Yeah, so I feel like embodiment is a big aspect of what Bright and Dark brings to the witchcraft community. Morgana, would you like to take it away?
I would also just kind of throw in, for me personally, as someone who has practiced witchcraft again their whole life, but by myself, right? That the community and connection based shadow work that we do here, like, next leveled it for me in a way that I could never do by myself, because the ability to go deeper while being held, but while the space is being held by the group, is like, it allows for like more mindful deconstruction and more mindful untangling of the things that I needed to, you know, kind of turn inward and look at. So I think that specifically at Bright and Dark, the holding space gently and mindfully, like, next levels it for sure. Back to you.
I can jump in here
Arrow,
as well too, because that just makes me think too a lot about the accountability as well too that we can hold, that the community holds each other to, and the sometimes not so gentle poking that we do to each other to help us see those shadows too. I turn to my community to when I'm struggling with finding a shadow or dealing with a shadow, working through it. And like Morgana said, being held through that, but also having somebody else to shine a light. But I still like my shadows. My shadows are part of me, you know, but help me understand the different shadows, the different areas in my closet that I need to look into is really helpful. So having that community to work through that shadow work it's just so huge. It's just such a supportive place to be. All right, Desperell, I think you're putting your hand up there.
Yeah, I'm just such a habit from doing that all the time. But I also wanted to add on to that community piece, right? And talk about how the multiple perspectives and hearing from the other witches in the program who are working through the same things at the same time is like a huge launch pad, right? I think I get information that I possibly would have never considered on my own. And so that allows you to go deeper faster. I think that's our theme word today, is deeper, right? Because I have other people to have these conversations with in meetings and such that bring these things to my attention that, like I said, I wouldn't have been able to do without the community. So that was something that was very, very important to me.
Yeah, that really resonates with me, sarsaparilla, because often, the shadow is, well, in shadow for us. So it takes somebody else being able to point out the pattern that often is right in front of us, but we can't see because it's so inherent to, or it's so conditioned into how we've been taught to interact that we can't even see it sometimes until somebody's like, why are you doing that? Which is the best thing about neurodivergent witches. So our next question is, when did you first know you were a witch? When did you first know that you were a witch?
Okay, I can answer first. So I feel I have memories really young of, I wouldn't have called it a witch, but it is what it is now, if that makes sense. Like I could see what maybe would be, but I didn't call it a witch then, but I knew I would do something like this, something magical. When I started my divination practice, and this was 99, 2000, where I really started intentionally. I think my family is watching, so shout out to Linda and Nancy for sending me to tarot school, to psychic school, and supporting me with, all the crystals and the decks. That was really pivotal for me at a time that I really needed it. Anyhow, back to the question. So during the 90s, early 2000s, what was around me, a lot of the witches that I was meeting practice from the Wiccan tradition. And there were parts of that I thought was really interesting, but that tradition really didn't align with me. And so I just thought, okay, I'll, comfortable engaging in these types of magical practices, but not others. So I didn't fully embody or call myself a witch at that time, but I've engaged with so many different things over that time. And it wasn't until I met Jen Marie, and that was 2021. And the way Jen Marie just presented it to me, that I didn't have to pick a tradition. I didn't have to initiate in that way. And I was like, okay, yes, I'm a witch. That is me. That is who I am. And so I'm so grateful for all the experiences, but that I now have just this greater and deeper understanding of the word witch, what it means to me, and that it is my own connection and not anyone else's, and I don't need anyone else to tell me what or who I am. I claim that for myself. So that was my path to witchcraft, and now proudly a witch. Who's next?
I can jump in. I wouldn't have, well, it took me about 6 months of really doing the shadow work with Bright and Dark. I, similar to Maria, joined Bright and Dark in 2021. And, it was the understanding. I mean, I grew up with like practical magic, the craft, so throughout my younger years, there was always, the wanting to practice and do Hollywood version of, being a witch. But once I got a better understanding of the variety of different definitions of a witch and got comfortable with that was when I really started identifying with the word witch. And so it took diving into that shadow work to figure out who I actually am and who I am meant to be. Still digging through that because I don't know if that's ever going to end. To really feel that embodiment of the word witch. And we probably have, if you ask us, what is a witch, you're going to have 8 different perspectives on that, 8 different definitions from us alone, So I also take immense pleasure in calling myself a witch because of others' perceptions of what that means as well too. And I get a whole lot of delight from people clutching their pearls and assuming what that means, and then being able to, through my actions, really show them what I mean by witch, and that it's not what is portrayed necessarily by Hollywood, by media. So there.
Thanks, Errol. I'm going to jump in. And in hindsight, like, as I look back now, like, when wasn't I a witch, right? Like, I showed up here with gifts, with, senses and things, a relationship to the unseen from a small child. But through a very strict religious upbringing, a lot of fear was programmed into me. And when I came into the Foundations program, I was just really drawn to the shadow work and the witchcraft part, but I didn't fully identify as witch because there was so much of that fear. And until I deconstructed my idea of what I had been told that a witch was, I could not fully embrace that path. That happened slowly for me through the Foundations program. And especially in public, I kept it very much to myself for quite some time. And I can't even say like that there was an exact moment that I decided that I was a witch. It was a gradual remembering, a gradual uncovering of everything that I had always been. And that going through the program and being in a community of others who were walking the same path was what gave me that confidence and the understanding to fully embrace that path. And so I am going to pass that to Silver. I know you had a weigh in.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think when I was a kid, I just kind of instinctively knew, but it was kind of erased out of my lexicon, just through like growing up and being like, oh, that stuff's not real. But when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Harry Potter and obligatory, I don't give money to J.K. Rowling anymore because I'm a trans and gender fluid person. But I was obsessed. That was all I could talk about. That was like my special interest as an autistic person. When I was 11, I wrote myself a Hogwarts letter and left it outside of my house so that I could be like, oh my gosh, I got my letter, you guys. And then as an adult, I was very into science. And as I got more and more into science, I started to read these forums that would be spiritual people and witches, like versus the science people. And as I started to understand more about what was going on around me, I was like, oh, they're saying the same thing. And they're using such different words, like it's such a different aesthetic, and they're like kind of talking at two sides of the same coin that they don't realize that they're all describing the coin. And I was like, oh my gosh, if that's the case, then I can call this magic. Like I can call myself a witch, right? And that kind of led me to the point too, with the kind of like me giving myself my own Hogwarts letter, right? Like this question kind of implies for me, when do I know I'm a witch, right? And so no one's going to give you a letter but you. And that's always what I think about is, little kid me telling me back then that this was the case. And even when I joined Bright and Dark, I wasn't sure the word witch fit me. I wasn't sure about it. Actually, for a couple years, I was like maybe mystic or mage or magician or alchemist, and I do like all of those words, to be fair. But I think that the specific like weight of the word witch as a reclamation is so important to me. I'm a queer person, and so we understand the importance of reclaiming power from words that have been used to harm us in the past. So yeah, that was a big part of it for me. Let's see. We have more weigh-ins, or should I hand it back off to Ocean?
I will take it. Thank you. Yeah, I totally resonate with that, Silver. The weight of the word witch is something that feels important to me too. We do have a question in the chat that would be really fun to answer. So, Jen-Marie mentioned the term black sheep queerdo. Can you please explain what that means to a straight heterosexual man? Just trying to understand the terminology from a bright and dark perspective. Thank you. Who wants to go first?
You answered that so well in the comments.
I know,
Ocean.
I'm sorry.
Like, I don't even know how I would riff off differently than what you had mentioned in the comments as a response to this.
Let me read what I said so that it's on the audio recording, and then if anybody wants to riff off of that, they can. I had so much fun answering that apparently I just it. So
before you get started, Peter, you are a rare and precious a gift in our community that is very, very rare for a straight heterosexual man to do the very difficult work that is foundations to get into a matriarchal community in the way that you have. It's really impressive. So thank you for your tenacity and whatever else it took to get you in this place. I am impressed and appreciate you. Go ahead, Ocean.
I concur with that. Yeah, we've had maybe 5 men brave enough to join our ranks of witches. So I wrote that black sheep is somebody who doesn't fit in with their family, their social group, or the community they were born in. Queerdo is a combination of queer and weirdo in reference to how gender and sexuality are a spectrum, and we are the witches who deconstruct gender roles and patriarchal conditioning, making us weird from a binary perspective. Does anybody want to
I would like to strongly yup that. Yup.
I wanted to say something where I had mentioned in my answer about what is a witch, and with Silver asking about or writing their own invitation. The community at Bright and Dark welcomes everyone. You can be practicing any type of witchcraft, be initiated in any tradition, or be practicing any religion or nothing at all. We welcome you into our community, and you can get your own invitation by logging into community.brightanddark.org. That is it. So there is your invitation. You have one. I just felt it was important to mention that we do, through the deconstruction process, we do delve into maybe different traditional practices or practices we had experienced before, and we're deconstructing that. But I honor everyone's path and all traditions and everyone's practice. I do share what resonates with me and maybe what doesn't resonate with me, but everyone's practice is valid. And I felt it was important to say that. And that is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Go ahead, Jen Marie.
Just very quickly. That is one of the things that ties us all together, is that we, to our absolute core, believe that each magical practitioner's path is sacred. The choices you make are sacred. Your perspective is sacred. We do not operate from a position of coercion or that we want to change your mind in any way. And so, yeah, our practices do not have to look the same for us to be able to do immense magical workings together. So there. All right. Okay. Passing it off again.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that caused a lot of friction in the beginning where it was like, why can't you just tell us what to do? Why can't you just give us the book on it? And there was no book. So Jen Marie had to write the book, which is
Yeah, it took me a few
Shadow.
years.
Grimoire,
Took a few years.
Grimoire of the Ungovernable. It's a long title.
For many years, I was like, well, you're the guy that's supposed to write the book. Like, why are you looking at me? Write your own book, man. So it took them years, but they finally convinced me to do it. And yay, here we are.
Yay.
I had a quick weigh in about the queerdo question.
Yes.
That just because of our positioning as people that have this relational wound of being like outcasted and black sheeped and scapegoated in some way, right? That is what makes Bright and Dark so special as well. That's a huge part. I think everybody's touched on it a little bit with the shadow work question, but the reason I feel that it's so important to heal in community is that what we're describing is a community wound, right? Like this is our community to some degree said we're not allowed in it. And so every time we have this kind of corrective experience where we are safe in community to be ourselves, we are inherently healing that within ourselves and in the community as well. We're teaching ourselves how to be in community again and how to relate to one another in a way that's like safe and magical. And that's why so many of the people that come through Bright and Dark like were solitary witches first. And like there's some like I feel like there's people either like me or Ocean who like the witchcraft was newer, right? Like we new brooms. And then there's the people that have been doing it a long time, in a solitary way because they were, scared of being judged and literally in danger if they were to express themselves. And then they come here and they go, oh my gosh, who I am is okay. And then we all learn that together again and again. And that's actually like neuroscience shit that's happening right there. So I love that question. And I really appreciate you too, Peter. That was a great one for us to all jump on.
One of my favorite things when a new broom or a new practitioner comes into the spaces that we create is when they realize that they aren't the only like weirdo. There's a lot of ways that we engage with each other that is radically inclusive. And we see it on the virtual spaces when you've got this, again, black sheep cycle breaker, which tends to be like a lone wolf type. And usually there's, strong resistance to positions of authority, a strong rebellious nature. And that we're all that way. We're all like that. And to see the light kind of turn on of like, holy shit, like I don't have to do this alone anymore is one of the coolest things to watch happen. And yeah, so I had to like put that out there. And I'm actually curious, y'all, because all of us do this work and we all engage with a lot of magical practitioners on a daily basis. Like, what is your favorite, or can you tell like a favorite story of yours that you've had of engaging with a new broom or someone new in the community where they finally realize, oh, like I can actually like be strange? You guys have any off the top of your head? Or should I like do it first?
There are so many, but
I
you do it.
My favorite, I really like the in-person gatherings that we do when witches are able to get together in a safe space to explore their magic with other witches in a physical environment. That is where it like locks in and is so cool to witness, especially when someone is like very clearly struggling with a social the social environment, because we're all fucking psychic. We're all super psychic, and being together is a high sensory experience. And those of us who have experienced it before are able to do things like give them a hood to wear, or give them earbuds to wear, or uh, telling them that it's okay for them to advocate for their sensory needs within a group, and we're all doing it. Like that to me feels amazing, and I'm looking forward to doing that many, 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 many times over. But yeah, I love that. Love that. Oh, sorry, one more thing is I love it. And this happens most in person, like when we're all together, because our thing that holds us together is we're all neurospicy, and things like echolalia cracks me all the way the fuck up every time it happens. If you're not familiar with echolalia, that's going to be a really fun like rabbit hole for you to jump down. But when you've got a group of witches and someone says something that sounds strange or sets everyone off, and it's like, have you ever been around a flock of turkeys where a sound happens and then everyone goes like all of them do it? That's what happens in groups of neurodivergent witches. Is someone will say something and then everyone will repeat and then everybody starts laughing. That is like, I love that experience specifically.
Even with just two of us in the house, I just want to say that happens all over here at Wordbrook. Jen Marie and I like say a thing and then we start to sing the song that's attached to it, or her phone makes a noise and I'm like beep boop. Like it's the most ridiculous thing. So even with two, it happens all the time.
I can weigh in. There's so many. My brain is overloading with information, but what has come to mind is first, everyone on the screen on this call, I've had experiences with those moments of those magical aha moments, and with the support team, with the Unbound, it's a lot of those moments are what brought us here on this path. And so that is very highlighted for me. When I joined Bright and Dark, the very first foundations meeting ever in 2021, I connected with a lot of witches, and that time was very special to me. And it also was a time that we learned a lot about how to interact with each other. And since that time, things have changed a lot. They have flowed in a different way. And I wondered if I would feel that way. There was just this special type of magic that felt highlighted during that moment. And then enter fall class. And I had that same feeling again with working with them and engaging with them. And a lot of them are here in the chat. And I mean, I couldn't call out one person because there's been so many. But the fall class, I think like at that 6-month mark, when you just start finding your flow a little bit, you just see those moments happening, and then they start sharing their perspective and the shifts that are happening, and it's miraculous. It's there's no greater honor in my life I think that I'll ever have than to witness that. And then we've had the other classes come after that, and I've, having those feelings again. We used to have foundations program was just kind of open enrollment. You could join when you want, but we've now switched to classes around the solstices and the equinoxes. And so we have engaged with our programs in that way and having groups start together, and that's been awesome. And so each class since then, I just wanted to shout them out, and everyone that's been attending our meetings has had their moment. I am feeling called to shout out Anna because they're here and very active in the chat, and so hey. And Heather's here, Earth Haven, some other, I'm sorry if I missed some others from the fall class, but hello, I see you. Shout yourself out if you're here.
I feel very similar to Maria of like, I think one of the things that I love seeing and like just feels like super aligned all is when I can help a new broom, a new community member, learn how to process their feelings in the moment and to sit with them and not intellectualize them, because that's what we've all learned to do in therapy, right? Is to think about it and think ourselves out of it, but to actually sit and process that feeling and allowing yourself to feel it, to get to the other side of it, besides processing it, it's the only word I can think of, to deeply feel it, it is so cool to see someone who doesn't know how to do that, then take that, you can walk them through it, they can learn it, they can practice it, and then to watch them do it in the moment too, it's chef's kiss. Like, just such a cool thing to see and to be a part of.
Yeah, you guys are like sending me on this whole nostalgia trip, to be honest, with like your words. It's taking me all the way back to actually my first thought was when I was a new broom and I was that awkward little ball of fight. I was always challenging Jen Marie with like so many things, and they'd be like, "Dude, I feel the same way." Like, we really have a cool origin story that I'm sure we'll get into at one point. But does anybody want to say anything before we transition to the rest of our day? I know this went by so fast. I was going to say any last words, but we're going to be back next month. So this is not a goodbye. This is only a we'll see you soon. And we'll be live every third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern. It'll be super duper fun. And I know that somebody had an outro. Yes, Sarsaparilla, thank you.
Sure, I will take us out. I want to thank everybody for joining us for our first Wisdom in the Weave. It's so exciting. We were so excited to finally do this. And it's a live Q&A with the Unbound Witches of Bright and Dark Center. We really love your questions. So if there's something you'd like to discuss, leave it in the comments if you're watching this later on YouTube or wherever you're listening to the podcast. We also have a special section in our free app, and you'll find that at community.brightanddark.org. And we'd love to try to answer your questions in a future episode and bring them live. We are monitoring the chat when you are here live with us. We, again, like Ocean said, we record these on YouTube on the third Saturday of every month at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the Bright and Dark Center channel. And if you're listening to this as a podcast and want to see the video version, you can always find it on our new YouTube channel. So until next time, stay curious, trust your own wisdom, and we'll meet you again soon in the weave.